Hello and welcome to another episode of the Everything EV podcast, the podcast dedicated to everything electric. I'm your host, Charlie Atkinson, and in these episodes we'll be discussing everything to do with electric travel. So whether it be cars, bikes, boats, or even planes, we'll have it covered. We'll also be speaking to people from within the industry to get their views on the EV space, as well as other features such as electric car reviews, electric motorsport coverage, and much, much more along the way. This podcast is available on all streaming platforms, so be sure to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast from to receive every single episode as soon as it's released. And please do go back and check out all our other episodes too. This week, I'm joined by Asher Moses, the founder of electric taxi company Sherbet London. In this episode, Asher shares the story behind Sherbet and how it became one of the biggest players in the electric black cab market in London, as well as giving us his thoughts on what the future of transport might look like in major city centres. So yeah, Asher, first of all, thanks for joining the podcast today, and really great to be chatting with you. Now, I did have a bit of a read up on your sort of journey and your story before this podcast, but could you just explain sort of your background to the audience, and sort of how you ended up to where you are today?
Truly humbling, inspirational story, because I started off as a licensed London taxi driver. I did the green badge, I did the knowledge of London. I gained my green badge in 1989. In those days, all taxis were black in those days. Only black cabs allowed in London. 1990, we had a recession moment. There was a recession in 1990. And I had a light bulb moment, literally. Things were tough, interest rates went up. And I remember waiting for a pizza. My wife, and I was a bit short to buy that pizza, and the radio was on. And bang, it was, "Hi, my name is Victor Kayan. If you want to be successful, look at what you got and maximize its opportunities." I said, "Well, what have I got?" And I only had an electric taxi. I had an electric taxi. And I had one taxi, I beg your pardon, and a diesel taxi. And I was a night driver. Then I added a day driver onto it. And then I bought another taxi and another taxi. And within 12 months, in the suburbia of Gad's Hill, I had 120 diesel taxis on one road, causing leaks and oil leaks and servicing them and noise. And my mother-in-law kicked me out and said, "You got to sell them or find a garage." I ended up selling them and went back into my cab. In those days, taxis were black, and started putting advertising on the cabs, And today, taxis are now a high-value out-of-home media channel. I grew my business and came up with many innovative ideas. Taxis needed a credit card system, so we came up with TaxiLink, instant cash for credit card fares. And that evolved taxis from TaxiLink from a cash business into a completely, above the board kosher business. Taxis, 85% of the revenue today is all on credit card. So there was always an involvement, and I was always innovating. We innovated so much that we ended up buying taxi media from Clear Channel. And we sold it at the peak of the Olympics to Verifone, which was a NASDAQ company. They're based on NASDAQ, and they were a credit card provider, so they couldn't penetrate London. So they bought my company, and we had to install 5,000 credit cards and 5,000 taxis. I mean, it's the hardest thing in my life to say. Credit cards? No way. But we did it. And and in 18 months. And then after 18 months, I went on garden leave. Verifone bought me out, and we went on garden leave. And I came back in 2013, when Addison Lee sold out for £300 million to the Carlyle Group. I said, "Well, if he can do it, I certainly can do it." So I built the business with a view that one day we'll grow into a unicorn. That was the vision. We put a big sum of number on the whiteboard. We said, "What we're going to call the business?" I said, "We'll live in a brand awareness world. It's not a taxi business. It's a business that needs to be a brand." So we came up with the brand Sherbet. Why Sherbet? Because Sherbet Dab is Cockney rhyming slang for cab. And we needed a brand that licensed cab drivers will link to and be proud of. So um, off we set with Sherbet and started to buy Euro 6 taxis in line with Boris, our mayor's strategy at the time. We quickly realized that the economy is going to go green very quickly and start looking into the electrics. And I started to educate myself on electric, lithium, actually all the way from, moving from diesel taxis, not only to electric, from diesel using electric taxis to get data, automotive data, pollution data. And today we've set up a business that has multiple strands. It's a complete solution for electric taxis that can be replicated anywhere in the world. You could buy 100 electric taxis and put them anywhere in the world. Regulators can regulate, operators can operate. Electric taxi drivers can book their taxis on shift work. Advertisers can advertise on a prized fleet and can see where their taxis are because they're smart taxis. We collect longitude, latitude, time, date, location. So, and we've got a system for payments in a taxi. So today we're at a stage where we're future-proofing London taxis. We're disrupting the disruptors. We're saying, hey guys, you come in with just technology, but you need to operate. You need an operator. An operator is key to any technology partner. And what we've done, we've coupled technology to our operations business to say we're a tech operations business, and that can scale globally, and future-proofing London taxis in line with our current mayor's strategy.
I just wanted to talk to you about, obviously, like you said, you've sort of grew up and spent a large part of your career driving diesel taxis, and then you've made the switch over to electric taxis. So for a lot of people, when they sort of grow up with petrol and diesel cars, they sort of have a bit of a negative mindset towards electric. But what was your thought process when you recognised that the world was moving towards this electric future? You've obviously leaned into it, but did you ever have a few sort of question marks over whether electric taxis would work or whether electric vehicles would work?
In life, you always have question marks: what will work, what won't work, and you don't really know. You've got to make a decision. You saw the trend of people looking to save the planet. The mayor's strategy was to go green at the time. We knew that Euro 6s were coming in. We knew that the ICE engine age was coming to an end. So we took a very bold move, which was an incredible move, and bought the first 50 electric taxis from LUC. And we had to be innovative to get the mindset of London taxi drivers, from a rattly old dirty diesel, and to get them into this quiet, silent vehicle that only has a pedal that you can't, you just touch the pedal and you're gone, and get them used to charging and where the charging, how to charge, battery management. There was a whole mindset change that we had to adopt ourselves. We had to master the charging in London, meaning there wasn't many charging points when I started, but we owned them, meaning no one could get on a charging point because we'd make sure we get our drivers knowing when the next one's coming off, just to keep charge. So we had to really deliver a change of mindset, a proper induction for taxi drivers. It actually takes an hour and a half to induct a driver from diesel to electric to do it properly.
Yeah, and it's interesting you talk about that mindset change and how you have to get used to charging and different things like that. But what would you say on a day-to-day basis is the biggest challenge for you guys? What, especially with just focusing on those electric taxis, what would you say is the biggest sort of operational challenge for you guys?
I think the word is parts. It's more supply of parts. I mean, we're having electric vehicles, component issues, spare parts issues. There was a lot of charging issues as well, and it always is an issue. In my yard in Dalston, if I plug in 10 taxis here, the guy from the corner shop comes running in with a hammer at me, telling me my lights are going off and I can't open the till. Right? So he really goes nuts. So there's charging infrastructure, but it's about being nimble. And once you commit to doing it, you'll find a strategy to come out of everything. Yeah, it was a bit challenging, but we're nimble. We can make decisions and get things done.
Yeah. And when you look back over the company's history so far, what would you say are some of the most significant milestones for you and for the company?
Um, I think from the risk of going green, the risk of investing in electric at the stage when I did, um, and then trying to scale up, buying the taxis. Currently we're at 500 electric taxis and still scaling. We're looking to scale significantly. The milestones were really trying to get our drivers to adopt this change mentally, because it wasn't only an electric change. If you think about the changes that actually hit London at the time, you had technology disruptors coming in. How do you adapt to that change? You had green emission strategies coming in. How do you adapt to those changes? Then, if you look at till today, we've got loads of challenges being thrown at us every single day. Look at London's 20-mile-an-hour network speed. Look at the low traffic neighborhoods. All these things are massive challenges and mindsets for an established business who had freedom to go anywhere and everywhere in London, right? To adopt, you have to stop to charge. You can only drive 20 miles an hour. You can't go into certain roads. And this is all up to me. The milestone is mindset. How to get a traditional person, a diesel thinker, to say, no, you're part of an evolution. You're leading the challenge. You're contributing to reducing emissions and giving these guys what I call USPs. They don't even know the word of USP, unique selling point. They don't know it. But the minute you tell them how great they are, and they are iconic, they work in the capital of capital. London used to be a city of millionaires. Today it's a city of billionaires, right? There's no other vehicle that penetrates London streets more than Sherbet London taxis. Our taxis are so visible, we carry an ABC1 audience captive in the back of our vehicle for an average of 20 minutes in London. So it's an iconic vehicle. It's loved by tourists. It contributes £1.4 billion. None of these drive. I'm a cab driver, ain't I? You're not. You're far more than a cab driver, right? You're an integral part of Licensed London. And that's what I had to change. The mindset that we are different. And the problem was cab drivers couldn't communicate. So today we equip our cab drivers. We are a brand, a commercial organization that's giving the tools to licensed London drivers to transition from diesel to electric, using technology, using innovation in order to work with the City of London and educating the driver that they're doing more than I'm a cab driver. You're not. You're an integral part. And if we can continue to add technology, and one of the things we're adding now to our fleet is pollution, PM 2.5. So because I collect longitude, latitude, time, date, location 24/7, right? Imagine I can give you instant pollution data in your borough 24/7 every time my vehicle goes in there. I can tell you your telecom here, tower, your 4G and 5G, where your sensors should be, because I'm moving past the towers. I know where they should be. You're assuming they should be. I can tell you where every pothole in London is. Not that the Minister of Transport wants to know on his watch, but I probably could. My vehicle hits a pothole, I get an instant camera notification. If I have an accident, camera notification. My cameras picture the adverts wherever they are, so my clients can see it live, right? So technology, investment, and focus on going green is key to our strategy. Our objective is to scale up and own licensed London electric taxis. And London taxis are not benchmarked anymore as the world's best, actually. Sherbet Electric Taxis have been benchmarked as the world's best taxi.
Absolutely. And you just touched on there's obviously this focus to move into this sort of green era, this net zero era. So what does the future look like to you in terms of inner city mobility in and around capital cities like London? I know Paris has ambitions to completely get rid of any form of car or vehicle from its city centre. So What are your thoughts on that? Do you think do you think there's always a place for black cabs and taxis and electric vehicles in city centres, or do you think as we get on to that 2050 deadline where everything has to be net zero, do you think city centres like London are going to be completely vehicle free?
I really doubt it'll be vehicle free. Look, you take anybody and you go on holiday yourself. You want to get a taxi driver to pick your bag out the car. You want to feel that little bit of white glove service. And this is what licensed London taxis are. It is the white glove service of taxis. It's not a private hire solution. It's part of helping London. It contributes also to London's economy just from the iconic value. So why should you take away iconic values? It's but will it be there because we're removing off vehicles? I believe taxis will be there for a long time with taxi drivers, but there will be options for autonomous taxis. And that is happening. I've been in an autonomous vehicle myself in Jerusalem not long ago. And I felt that this really, really can happen and is happening. And then it's about taxi drivers and the taxi world to be thinking, how can we adapt? How do we adapt to the challenge of autonomy? And how do we fall and ensure that we can give the customer service? Customers want customer service as well. You go to a five-star hotel because you want the guy to open the door. You're not going to take the doorman away unless you have that. Might have a robot, but I think you'll have that doorman picking up your bag. And the same thing with London taxis. PHV, on the other hand, I don't think may exist. I think it'll be the other way. I think private hire has got a much bigger problem because, the laws that have gone in on VAT and the laws on employment laws, it's all pushing the prices up to be a mini cab driver so expensive. The laws on the tech disruptors that are coming in, they're not around anymore the way they used to be. And I truly believe that the tech disruptors, yes, they'll contribute to innovation, but local people like ourselves and others who've been in the industry for years, if we adapt and lead with technology, the way we've been taught from the tech disruptors who never had an operator, they didn't have an operator, so you can't succeed. Today, you've got an operator leading with technology on the iconic London taxis that's leading the way with saving carbon emissions, mainline and main strategy. And as I say, we could be replicated anywhere in the globe.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to come on and speak sort of generally about the black cab industry. I might not include this in the podcast. I'm just really interested to get your views on this because obviously the industry has had loads of different challenges over the past few years with Uber and Lyft and other ride sharing services like that. So I just wanted to get your opinion on, or just get your viewpoint really on how business has been with those challenges because, you hear it so many times that people go, oh, just call an Uber or just something like that. But like you said, black cabs are iconic and they're such a mainstay of London and major cities all around the world. So how has business been with that challenge?
Well, today or when they came on, if we want to go back to 2013, the most licensed London taxis contributed at that stage £1.8 billion in licensed London taxi fares alone. Okay, come along the tech disruptors, Uber were going to take over the world. They come along and disrupted the local marketplace. But who built the Ubers? Who built Uber? The London taxi driver, Hal. Because you would get in the back of a cab, not even knowing of Uber, and the taxi driver would say, hey, why don't you, Uber have killed us. And you go, who? You download their app in the back of the cab. Taxi drivers didn't realize the destruction globally they did to themselves by the word chat threads. The people would get in the back of the cab and they would just complain too much what cab drivers do. Today, let me tell you where taxi drivers are. So when Uber disrupted us, our revenues probably hit to 900 mil, under £1 billion. Today, we're contributing probably 1.9, even not £2 billion to the London economy. Licensed London taxis are in demand. We can't complete the amount of demand that we have. People are willing to pay top money for a reliable, comfortable, clean, green service, right? Now, there is another customer. People used to say to me, hey, Uber have killed me. I used to say, cab drivers, you don't need another customer. The guy in the back of your cab, you need to retain them. He contributes £1.4 billion last year. Why are you complaining about Uber? Is that not enough between 19,000 drivers? Do the maths. So, cab drivers. So where are we today? Licensed London taxis are booming to the highest levels. We've got what we call the Mexican wave. You can't stop a cab because everybody's fighting to get in them. And my cab drivers are earning real good money, and they could even fall into a VAT bracket. So just get an idea of what's going on. And the reason why this has happened as well, pre-COVID, there was 23,000 licensed London taxis and 22,000 licensed London taxi drivers and no electric. Post-COVID, there are 19,000 drivers, 14,000 taxis, 6,000 are electric. So the demand for taxis is there. There's more cab drivers than there is cabs. There's less cabs for the passengers. So obviously the taxi market is buoyant.
Yeah, absolutely. And what does that mean for you guys then? I wanted to come on to think on the sort of the next steps for Sherbet London. So what's in line for you guys this year, and what's the bigger picture, the long-term vision?
The bigger picture is to future-proof licensed London taxis and to ensure that any city in the world who wants to replicate this tremendous taxi service can do it as a complete holistic program for taxi drivers. So whatever a taxi driver needs, they're going to have. So my objective is in the next, very, very soon, is to scale up substantially, to bring in technology that allows drivers to work in shift patterns. So you don't have to have a taxi all day. You can work in shifts. You can rent by the mile. You can, everything is about scale. Our objective is to scale and optimize our fleets using technology in order to reduce emissions in London. And we're going to be doing it very, very fast.
That's all for this episode. Many thanks for listening. And if you liked it, then please do check out all our other episodes and be sure to subscribe to wherever you get your podcast from. So make sure you get every single episode as soon as it's released. For daily news coverage, features and much more, you can also head over to evpowered.co.uk. Thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you on the very next episode of the Everything EV podcast.